I'm Matt Weidner, Consumer Justice and Foreclosure Defense Attorney, and I want to talk to you for a moment about mortgage modification efforts. Now, as we know, all across the country, the federal government has been forcing banks and institutions to work with consumers to try and do mortgage modifications. And for those of you that have been involved in the mortgage modification dance, you'll know that it's a terribly frustrating process. You know, you send paperwork back and forth to the bank or institution, and they continually tell you they didn't get this paper or that paper, and they want you to resubmit the documents. We deal with this every single day here in the office. We deal with consumers that have gone through that frustrating process. And what I want you to understand is that oftentimes you're set up to fail from the very beginning. The banks and institutions early on didn't want to offer modifications, but now the process has changed significantly. So there's sort of a two-step process here. On the one hand, the banks and institutions are recognizing that in many cases it's better to keep a consumer in the home than it is to go through the foreclosure process. That's the positive side of things. On the legal side of things, we are recognizing that oftentimes by entering into these modifications, what's happening is the consumer is giving up important legal rights that when they turn to file the foreclosure later eliminate a lot of the defenses that we as the foreclosure defense attorneys can use to help keep a family in their home. So the issue of mortgage modification is one that is very complex and one that's coming to a very difficult position for many consumers. Recently, the federal government has started announcing that the default rates for consumers that have been in modifications is much higher than they expected. And so those consumers that signed modifications just a few months ago are finding that they're back in foreclosure all over again, and there's some complex and very negative consequences that are happening once that foreclosure is filed, and specifically all the late payments and fees and other charges are being lumped into that mortgage, and so the consumer's finding themselves with a much higher value in principal than they were even before that modification started. Now, I want to give a special plea here to any consumer that's entered into a modification prior and is finding that that modification is part of a foreclosure case that's been filed, or that they expect one is going to be filed because they entered into a modification prior and now they know a foreclosure is coming. I encourage you to contact my office and let me review the mortgage modification that you entered into, or let me consult with you about mortgage modification before you sign one. There are complex issues here that this law firm is deeply involved in. We are developing new litigation strategies based specifically on the mortgage modification efforts that people have entered into over the last couple of years. I'm here to tell you that there are some exciting possibilities of defense for consumers and standing up for justice in the most general sense for all of the citizens and consumers in the state of Florida, based specifically on the failings in the conduct of the banks in the context of mortgage modification proceedings. I'm Matt Weidner. I encourage you to contact my office via the cell phone or email or give us a chat. Thank you very much for stopping by.